Hello and welcome back. This is Chris with Marksman Shooting Sports in Westfield, Indiana, and you are watching Marksman TV. Today's video is a tabletop review and comparison of the new Ruger EC9S, the original Ruger LC9S, and the LC9S Pro. These are all, this is basically the LC9S family. We'll go into somewhat of the nuances, some changes and differences. This is going to be a pretty short and straightforward video, so let's go ahead and jump into it now. Okay, we'll go ahead and start off with the unboxing. To make this simple, actually the EC9S, the LC9S, and the LC9S Pro all come in the exact same box. In fact, all three of them even say LC9S on them. The only way you're going to know the difference is by reading the tag label over here. So jumping on in, it is a cardboard box with the Ruger graphics on it. You have your warranty instruction information here, a little dummy magazine, a gun safety lock. The EC9S comes with this little pamphlet in here talking about some things about the slide. Comes with a flat magazine floor plate if you want to switch that out to make the of course the magazine a little bit shorter for a little bit more concealability. Inside this little plastic bag is the firearm. We'll go ahead and check it clear. It does come with one 7-round magazine inserted, and keep in mind it does have that pinky extension, and that is it. And this is the same on all three versions. Okay, now let's go ahead and jump into their specs, and the specs are going to be the same on all three. So they do have an overall length of 6 inches and a barrel length of 3.12 inches and an overall weight of 17.2 ounces. Now with the extended magazine floor plate inserted, they do have a height of 5 inches. That will be a little bit shorter if you put that base plate on there, making the magazine just a little bit shorter. Now talking about the slides, these do have a through hardened stainless steel slide. Now the finish on the LC9S and LC9S Pro are the same. They are a blued finish, whereas on the EC9S they went to a black oxide. So here is the standard LC9S. You do see nice thin rear slide serrations back here at a little bit of a slant, and your external extractor. You just have your Ruger Prescott, Arizona, USA roll markings down here at the bottom. Now flipping over to this side, of course, you have your slide serrations here and the LC9S marking right there. Now this is a standard blue finish. One of the main reasons you can tell the difference, and I'll show you when I show you the EC9S, is just an overall smooth appearance. It's a very nice rich blue color, really attractive, really smooth metal. You don't see a whole lot of the lines in the metal, just overall really nice, well finished and polished off look. Now up here at the top, you do have your front and rear slides, which are metal in construction. They're both dovetailed in place, so they both are windage adjustable, but they are not elevation adjustable. While we are looking up here at the top, there is a little porthole cut into the top. That is your loaded chamber indicator. So when there is a round in the chamber, you will see that brass coming back at you. Keep in mind you will have to be in a well-lit area to see that. So if it's nighttime, you won't really be able to pick up on that. Now these sights are in a 3-dot configuration. So just nice, easy, usable, just an overall nice package. Now the LC9S Pro is going to be, the slide is going to be absolutely identical, and really the only differences in the LC9S and the LC9S Pro are the safety features. So we'll look at that when we get more into the frame, but again, identical features. Even the roll markings just say LC9S, they do not say LC9S Pro. Now one change here is there is kind of a lawyer's marking, if that'll focus. There it goes. And basically what this says in so many words is the firearm will fire with the magazine removed from the firearm. And that is one immediate difference. So the LC9S, we're going to be going in and out of focus here. If I remove the magazine, it's locked and it will not fire. The LC9S Pro, however, if I remove the magazine, it will fire. That's one difference there. Now the EC9S, the slide serrations are a little bit wider apart, so they don't have that nice fine cutting into the slide serration, which is fine. Just a little bit more of aggressive, not as nice looking and finished off. External extractor is exactly the same, and then you have your roll markings here, your EC9S. So that's all pretty much the same. Now a couple of differences, like I mentioned, this does have a black oxide finish. So if I move it in, just the overall finish appearance, if it'll focus here for you, the overall finish appearance is a little bit rougher, kind of more like a military parkerizing, so it even feels rough and not nearly as smooth. And I think my camera is going out on me. The focus is being really weird, so I apologize for that. I will try and get that replaced soon. You do have your loaded chamber indicator up here. Now while we're at the top, there's another main difference, and that's the sights. The sights are machined as a single piece into the slide. They're not dovetailed. So you cannot replace the sights and you cannot adjust them. So keep that in mind. Okay, let's go ahead and take a look at the trigger. So all three, the LC9S, the EC9S, and the LC9S Pro share the same trigger. So starting in here real quick, you do see there is a little trigger safety tab like you see on a Glock. Of course, if you don't pull on that, the firearm can't fire. It stops you from pulling the trigger through back here. Focus. Right there, you see. Now if I push on that, you see how that moves out of the way, allowing the trigger to pull through. So let's go ahead and show you that. If I go ahead and start to pull through, you have to take up here. Once you get to that wall, there is a little bit more take up to about that point, and then that's about where it's staged. If I push beyond that point just a little bit, goes ahead into a really nice clean break at about 5.5 pounds. Now let me show you that reset. So on the reset, I will go ahead and start to release. It'll have a fair amount of travel to about the halfway point, about right there, and that's where it's reset, ready to go again. Have a little bit of that take up and then into a nice clean break. Again, all three triggers are exactly the same. Now remember, on the standard LC9S as well as this one, if the magazine is released, the firearm will not fire. It's locked right here. With the LC9S Pro, that is not the case. If the magazine is released, it'll fire. Okay, let's go ahead and get into disassembly. Now all three of these come apart the exact same way, and I have the EC9S here. You will need some sort of a little tool. I just use a paper clip and I open it up just to give me a little poking in, but anything like this will work. Now let's go ahead and remove the magazine and check that we're clear, and we are. So on this side of the pistol there will be a little gate, it's like a little tab that's sticking up right here. Go ahead and grab that with your fingernail and push it down. That will allow clearance for the crossbin to come out. Now there is a crossbin keeping the barrel and the slide in place here. So what you will do is there's a little half moon cutout on this slide. You'll go ahead and bring that back just slightly enough to where it creates clearance for that crossbin to come out. Now from the other side, this is where your little punch tool is going to come in handy. You can go ahead, I'm doing this kind of backwards here so you can see me, but you can go ahead and push on that from this end, allowing it to then fall out the other side. Now with that out, you will have to drop the striker, so I will insert the magazine. Remember, you cannot pull the trigger or engage the striker with the magazine out of the pistol, so go ahead and pull. That will then allow the two halves to separate, but now I have to take my magazine out, allow the two halves to come apart. Now right here we have a double guide rod and spring recoil system. I will go ahead and pull out. And then the barrel. Again, all of your internal components and everything on all three of these pistols is identical. Okay, now let's talk about the frame. This is a single piece nylon glass filled frame. It's very durable, very nice in construction. Of course, it's black polymer. I don't know about the EC9S, but the LC9S you could get in different frame colors like turquoise or yellow or anything like that. Let's talk about the gripping texture here. It's not overly aggressive. This nice kind of cross-hatched pattern with the little Ruger emblem there and your Ruger roll marks right here. Very nice, positive gripping surface, a little bit of a palm swell here, enough of a little beaver tail-esque surface back here, and enough of a little cutout under the trigger guard to just give you some nice positive gripping here. Of course, with that magazine extension, it's just a good overall feel. Now I have pretty small to medium-sized hands. If you have really large hands, this might be kind of small, but that comes with the nature of it being a single stack concealed carry 9mm, but for what it is, very comfortable. Up here you do have your slide stop, you have your little takedown disassembly gate here, and then of course there is a safety. Now keep in mind, on the Pro model, that is one other difference, is there is no mechanical safety. This is the same frame on the LC9S and the EC9S. LC9S Pro lacking that safety feature. So if you do want a safety, you do have that there. You do have the nice positive red and white safety indicator notches. Now up at the top, you do have a single one-piece guide rails on either side that travel pretty much the entire length of the frame, and all your internal components are a stainless steel with a blued finish on it, so it's really nice, durable, overall a really nice light construction. And the barrel, of course, in all three is the same. It is an alloy steel that is blued. Does not have a polished feed ramp, but I'm sure that it's just fine. Remember, you do have your loaded chamber indicator cut right there. Really nice scalloping on the top of the chamber, just giving it that nice attractive look, and kind of some bell cuts out here on the front that helps it lock into the slide. Of course, pretty simple, standard, nothing too exciting about it, and it is the same on all three pistols. Okay, let's go ahead and talk a little bit about some takeaways here. Now, the first thing to mention is price, and this is where the EC9S is going to shine. So the standard LC9S and LC9S Pro retail in about the same ballpark range at about the $320 to $400 range, depending on where you find it. Our standard price on these have been like $359, but we've had them on sale for like a year just because we get really good dealer discounts with Ruger. But we've had these on sale in our store for like $319.95, so you can get them down to about $320. In some places you can even find them cheaper. On our Cheap Guns website, we even have these at like $310 plus free shipping, as low as that. So there's some options there for you. The EC9S. EC9S is going to be, and keep in mind these are fairly new to the market, but right now we're seeing them hover around the $250 range. So they are about $50 to $100 cheaper than the other counterparts. And kind of the idea that when you're considering the price point and where you want to be in terms of the quality of the firearm is you are going to be giving some things up. I've already talked about what those things are, and is that valuable to you? For somebody who is on a strict budget and all they have is $250 and that is it, I think that the EC9S is an excellent firearm, because for that price point, you're really competing with like the Taurus PT 111 G2 Millenniums, you're competing with the Sky or SCCY pistols, you're competing with the Kel-Tecs, and in my opinion, the LC9S platform is just a better gun. It's just better engineered than those. Really, the other ones I just mentioned are kind of on the cheaper end of the spectrum in terms of quality. I say using cheap for poor quality in that instance. Not to say that those are really poor quality. I don't know. I just don't think that they really stack up against the LC9S, in my opinion. You know, I am positive a lot of you will disagree with me, so if you have different experiences, let me know in the comment section. Sorry, Fat X guy just came in, but anyway, just at that price point for $250, you're getting a good quality firearm. At its heart, this is an LC9S, just been dumbed down in a couple ways or just simplified. The sights machined into the slide as opposed to being removable. Okay, if that's important to you, some people just for a carry gun, you know, that's totally fine, you know, not needing to replace your sights out. Now keep in mind with that comes sight adjustment, so if your windage or anything is off slightly, there's no way to fix that. You get what you get. I imagine these are probably calibrated pretty well, and you know, they can use machines to precisely machine these into the center of the slide, so it should be good for most cases. And keep in mind your traditional engagement range in a defensive scenario is usually no greater than about 7 yards, which is 21 feet, so you really don't need pinpoint accuracy at that distance for most defensive purposes. That's just my opinion, but anyway, moving on from there, of course you do have in the EC9S, the standard model is offered with a safety. They don't have like an EC9S Pro out, at least at the time of making this video, which you can get without a safety. So at this point you are stuck with a manual safety and a magazine disconnect if you want to go the EC9S route. That will probably change in the future, I am sure, if they're not already about to release something like that. The other difference, of course, is the finish. The finish is fine. Kind of a black oxide. It's used in a lot of machine metal processes, like on a lot of tools and rivets and screws and military firearms. So a black oxidation finish or a black oxide finish is totally fine. You're not really giving up a lot there, in my opinion. It doesn't look as nice and clean, but it's durable and it's usable, which is, in my opinion, really a good thing. So other thing is slide serrations. They are a little bit wider apart. Not as precisely machined as on the LC9Ss. Not a huge deal again. So to save $100, really, in my opinion, the one detriment you are taking on is the changing of the sights. But again, if $250 is all you've got to spend, heck of a deal, I think. Really, really awesome idea for them to do this, kind of simplify it. They did this also on their SR9 and with the EC9, I believe they called it. Which is a similar concept. Again, it gets a good quality firearm in other people's hands. It's like going out and getting a brand new, you know, car and then going with the base model trim package can really open up your options of getting in a nice looking in a functional vehicle without like all the creature comforts. It's kind of the same concept here. So you've got your base model here now. Now the Pro model. This is really a safety, no safety debate, and that's really what the difference is between the Pro model and the standard LC9S. I personally prefer firearms without safeties. Usually if you don't have any type of really intense training, and this is why training is really important, you can, and I read this in a survey, it was some sort of like 2012 FBI report. I think that's the year of the report, but it was calculating people's cognitive awareness when they're involved in stressful situations, and to a untrained person, somebody who is not trained to handle or be in very arduous or very stressful situations, like a police officer or somebody in the armed forces, you can usually expect to retain about 8 to 10% of your cognitive ability once you're put in a very stressful situation. Your hands start to shake, your heartbeat goes up, you can start hyperventilating, your breathing rate really increases. So putting a lot of distractions in front of you, like safety features and things like that, unless you are really, really, really going to train to disengage it really has to be muscle memory, you could really get in the way. We call them roadblocks. You want to put as few roadblocks in front of you as you can when you're looking for that option. So for that reason, I usually recommend kind of a safety-less option. Now, you do have the trigger safety here, so as long as this is in a holster, like a pocket holster or something, you're usually good to go. I know some mechanical features can happen, but the same is true of a mechanical safety. Also, a magazine disconnect. I hate that feature. I understand why magazine disconnects exist and why some people think that they're safer. Only problem is while you're drawing a gun, again, if you're panicking or something, you could accidentally tap on that mag release, and even if it's just slightly out of the gun, it's not going to fire on these guys. On this one, it will, of course, if it's armed like that. So, again, just reduce any type of risk and reduce the complication of what you're carrying, I think is really important. So I would like to see the LC9S translated over, or LC9S Pro translated over into an EC9S Pro. I'm sure an option like that will be coming out, but that's basically it on terms of that. Well, that is all the time I have for you today, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you enjoyed that, please let me know by hitting that like button, and if you have any questions, please leave those down in the comment section. If you want to see more videos like this, please go ahead and subscribe to the channel. I would really appreciate it. Again, this is Chris with Marksman Shooting Sports in Westfield, Indiana. You are watching Marksman TV. I will see you next time.